This is a public service announcement. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert. Don't proceed if you haven't seen the first season of the series The Last of Us from episode 1 to episode 8. Spoiler alert. If you're a Christian, you can never forget that Hollywood is not only not on your side, but is always actively out to discredit you, your faith, and the reason for your faith. The latest example occurs during the premiere season of the HBO hit The Last of Us. Based upon the hit 2013 video game of the same name, the live-action episodic drama of an adult man and his surrogate teenage daughter roaming post-apocalypse, zombie-affected America has received rave critical reviews, especially concerning how the series expands beyond the confined narrative of the video game to create a more layered and nuanced storyline. When an earlier episode divulged completely from the video game to introduce an unlikely homosexual love story, of course media critics applauded. This was, quote, groundbreaking, unquote, material, wonderfully augmenting the scope of the original source, and so forth. However, there was an immediate backlash on Twitter, social media, and IMDb. Not everyone, of course, but enough of them to collectively decry the episode, to affect its meta rankings. Homophobic, some screamed, and yes, there's some truth to that. And the inconvenient truth that for many straight people who are quick to proclaim their acceptance of the LGBTQ community, this public declaration doesn't exclude their private reticence and even revulsion of being shown explicit displays and images from those communities, especially of the same-sex male variety. A similar, shamefully felt taboo occurs with interracial relationships, heterosexual or otherwise. Yet some of the backlash towards episode 3, called Long, Long Time, after the Linda Ronstadt song from the 1970s, was an organic repulsion at the dishonesty and selectiveness of the show's creators. Until this episode, The Last of Us had been an incredibly chaste show by modern standards. Aside from a few quick kisses and the acknowledgement of a long-standing relationship between the main male character Joel and his doomed girlfriend. Yet episode 3 is completely given over to an almost full-blown homosexual depiction, seemingly more graphic and prolonged than anything else produced for mainstream television audiences. It was guaranteed to make many people squirm and be angry, and feeling manipulated by an obvious agenda. Having never played the video game, and with only a cursory knowledge of it, I have no idea if female protagonist Ellie had a girl crush, which briefly turned physical as chronicled in the flashback standalone of episode 7. But the inevitable progression towards, pardon the pun, the climax seemed contrived, because it always has to be sexual between two girls who are best friends. Which finally brings us to episode 8, When We Are in Need. For the first time in the series, we are introduced to survivalists who explicitly are Christians. We have seen other bands of those who have avoided being infected, but none had been Bible toters. This should have been the first warning to heed. The second warning was how deceptively low-key the pastor must be. Of course, the writers also have to quickly establish a darker undercurrent to his true nature. Reverend Jekyll, meet Mr. Hyde. And cannibalism is introduced for the first time. No other episode remotely suggested that the various offshoot groups were practicing cannibalism. So what possibly could be the message that the unknowing masses of this Christian congregation is subsisting on human flesh? Is this a coincidence? A mockery of communion rites? Hey, Christians make a big fuss about symbolically eating the flesh of Jesus and drinking his blood. Let's make them all cannibals. Now the laugh's on them. And of course, our preacher man must secretly be a predatory pedophile. Why should his interest in saving Ellie, who is ostensibly 17 or 18 years old, but doesn't look any older than 12, be that of a good Samaritan? Of the many implausible and absurd sequences in the episode, what could be more stupid and objectionable than an attempted rape inside a burning building? Showrunners from the series have frequently expressed the ideal that The Last of Us should be devoid of simple heroes and villains, even with the murderous infected zombies. But Season 1, Episode 8 vividly dispels that notion. The Christian minister is a stock one-dimensional villain, all too common whenever Hollywood attempts to portray nearly anyone of Christian faith. The scorecard is very simple, amazingly binary. Homosexuals and homosexuality, good. Christians and Christianity, bad, bad, bad. And that's Holly weird for you in 2023 or any other year of our Lord. They view us as worse than zombies. Thank you for listening.